Hello and welcome to the hands-on UX design for Agentic AI. My name is Greg Nudelman, and I'm a distinguished designer at Sumo Logic. I also blog at uxforai.com. I also have a new book that's called UX for AI that just came out, and I'm going to tell you how to get 21% off of this book if you hang till the end of this session. So, for decades, we've been running in this three in a box model. And I regret to inform you that in the AI first era, this approach is done. Because mostly what happens is it leads to devs creating this Death Star. Nothing useful penetrates in, nothing valuable comes out. At best, you have this UX and PM just sort of shooting their requirements in, but it doesn't really ever penetrate. One day you have predictably massive release of hot air, lots of this twisted space junk that explodes into everyone's face, end up with AI features that miss the mark. And it's not just me saying that, but if you just Google 85% of AI projects fail, you'll see lots of very authoritative articles, including Forbes and Fortune, that basically say the same thing. So on the left here, what you see is a screenshot from a viral post I recently had on LinkedIn. It got over 1,000 comments and 170,000 views because I think it hit a nerve. And it hit a nerve because UI is no longer UX. And Figma is a Titanic that's about to hit that hidden part of the iceberg and sink. And the part that's hidden is actually really difficult to figure out because these AI-driven systems are no longer programmed. They're trained, which means they are probabilistic and emergent, and you just can't predict how AI is going to respond until you build it. Many successful AI products just have very little interface. Sometimes it's just a text box and some output, and Figma mockups just can't capture LLM personality or the flexibility of AI agents' decisions. And finally, if you're going to wait the way you typically do for your specifications and so on, you're going to be waiting forever. And clarity only comes from building prototypes that are truly AI driven and then watching real users work with those prototypes. And if you insist on project requirements before coding, the way many teams still do, you will never ship while your competitors are going to learn and launch. And that is not to say you need to follow me on LinkedIn. That part is completely up to you. The other issue with three in a box is the old world relay race. Research gets the findings, then they pass them over to the design. The design takes the findings from research, makes the wireframes. The wireframes are then passed on to the PM, who then writes the specs and puts them into Jira. And then the Jira is turned over to the developers, who are then capture it in their dev star, and then again, nothing comes in, nothing comes out till a big explosion occurs. And all that was actually kind of fine. It was working great. The message that we as designers used to pass along to our teammates had been very simple. It had been, look at all this time we're going to save you by making wireframes ahead of time, because wireframes are so much easier to change than the real code. Well, that's actually no longer the case. And not only that, you're no longer building deterministic stuff. And so in AI first development, this type of handoff is a disaster because nuance gets lost, assumptions drift, and by the time it ships, it looks nothing like what anyone recognizes. And this is exactly like the game of Telephone Pictionary, which looks here. This particular story started with the statement, his heart stopped when she came into the room. And then in just a couple of steps, this mutates into video killed a radio star. Now, each step to this added successive distortions until the final output was convenient, but utterly wrong. And of course, this is hilarious for onlookers. Just so funny, but it's not nearly so funny for your company, your team, or your personal career. And here's the worst part, that the customers are reduced to choosing rain spouts. This is what wireframe testing has really become. It's rain spa design, it's decoration. And you get to go to your customers and you say, "Look, I have these two beautiful wireframes for an AI solution. Which would you like? Do you want dragon spouts or do you want gargoyle spouts?" All the while, your AI plumbing empties into an elevator shaft. And sure, you get lots of wonderful opinions about which rain spawns look cooler, but the heart of the product, the AI decisions, the data flows, the trust dynamics, this is, this is the heart of it. How to deal with errors, how to deal with hallucinations, all of those things remain a black box for the users, and they cannot meaningfully respond to that. And so you get this shallow preferences. So you have this innovation theater that looks kind of like you're doing work and kind of like you're making real decisions, but you really are not affecting a single thing other than decorations and literally rain spots. Um, it reduces the entire UX exercise to this macaroni and glitter project, which is like a small child handing this masterpiece to their mother and going, "Do you like it, Mom? You like it, right? It's beautiful." It's unacceptable because the design is how it works. As Steve Jobs have said many years ago, design is how it works. This is now more real than ever for AI products. Design is how it works. UX, dev, and data are inseparable. If you're not collaborating across these roles, you are flying blind. And developers siloed in their Dev Star are just not heroes anymore. Projects fail because the devs in a silo of their Dev Star optimize for things that just don't matter. They don't matter to business or don't matter to customers. Things like model accuracy, all the while ignoring true value that the project is going to bring. All the while PMs and designers that are outside the Dev Star hand off these pretty UIs and specifications that don't reflect reality and don't reflect AI uncertainty and don't reflect the kind of data that the AI has access to. It's a vicious cycle, one that 85% of AIs or AI driven products rather never escape. And here's some high profile flame out just from recent work. IBM Watson for Oncology that blew through $3 billion only to give unsafe and incorrect statements. One doctor called it a piece of the piece of poo, lamenting we can't use it for most cases. And Zillow lost $304 million when it couldn't adapt to market shift with their fancy new AI. And Amazon recruiting AI that had to be completely scrapped after it started discriminating literally against women. Anything that said women's in a resume, like women's basketball team, it would penalize and move that person to the end of the queue. So it's no surprise that AI projects faceplant. In 85% of the cases, we do not take into account the key interplay between UX, data, and the AI. Honestly, I'm surprised any of them succeeds. So, what is the solution then? Voila, the only verdict is Snowball Manifesto. Instead of the big handoffs and isolated silos, the snowball means something different. It means building together, it means iterating constantly, it means involving the users from day one. That's what that heart and person in the middle is. That's the user. You gotta put them in the middle of your snowball. There's no silos, no handoffs. That means you're one unit. You're folding successive layers of insight and functionality around the snowball, just like you're packing a snowball until it gets larger. All the while, customers call BS in real time. Now, the product keeps moving forward in these small testable increments. All the while, it's going richer and more robust with each roll of the snowball. And as the snowball gets larger, you have to be able to roll it everywhere. You have to roll it to the vibe coding and vision and facilitation and data, which is the RAG files and user research. So you can't really make make it in one direction. Otherwise, it will become like a snow log. It has to be rolled around so that it's a nice fat snowball. It means collapsing the walls between the roles. You assign the tasks by skills. Can you code? Great. Can you wrangle data? Can you talk to customers? Can you create a quick vision prototype? It doesn't matter if you're PM, Dev, UX, everyone shares ownership. Everyone wins when the project wins. And when something fails, there's no finger pointing. There's no hole in the other side of the boat. You're all responsible for rolling the same snowball together. So, how do we actually do this? Well, you can look at this principle number 4, which is lightweight over heavy. It's one of the most important principles because we ditch this 50-page spec and these very detailed things that cannot really be defined up front for AI-driven projects. And instead, um, we opt for lightweight design artifacts. And you unblock and align the team quickly and let them get back to building the real thing. There are no big documentation binders. We keep everything very scrappy and adaptable. Here's an example from our UX for AI book, which is the #1 release on Amazon. And if you hang out, I will tell you how to get 21% off. So if you look at this example with a storyboard, you can help your teams strategically frame the problem. And this just takes 10 minutes to build, right? And you're supposed to really build it with your team together. It's a map of a user journey in just 4 to 6 panels. You tell the full story of how the thing is supposed to unfold, what use case you're addressing, where's the AI stepping in, and then you end with the value that's delivered. So in this case, for example, we have the life clock app that predicts the life expectancy based on food choices, exercise, etc. We start at AI University cafeteria. These people are going for the cafeteria line, and then this person is unsure what to pick. Should they pick fish? Should they pick pepperoni pizza? They take out their app, they scan it, and it tells them that they're going to get a -2 hours for a pizza and +2 minutes for the asparagus. Great. So then the person, of course, smartly picks the fish and asparagus entree, and then, of course, this catches the interest of his love interest over here on the right, and he's, of course, looking so hale and healthy and making such fantastic life choices. So who knows? Maybe she got asparagus fish too. And so their pee is going to smell exactly the same in just a few hours. So it's very exciting stuff happening here. Um, so moving on, you can also just prototype this based on your storyboard. You can just take 5 minutes and with your team prototype this in the mobile first fashion. And you can see from these stickies how the UI is going to solve this particular use case. You go mobile first, you use 3x5 stickies. They're about the size of a screen, size of your mobile telephone, right? So, it's pretty compatible, right? So this is what we call a $1 prototype. That's my previous book title. And you arrange the screen layout, the controls, the buttons, whatnot. You can make multiple versions of this. As you can see, we have 2 different responses here. We have a fish and asparagus response, and we have a pepperoni response. And then you also literally have now once you make these stickies, you have a physical prototype you can hand to people, and you can say, "Hey, here's an app that's gonna extend your life. Try to use the app to pick the right food to eat for yourself at lunchtime in the cafeteria." And off the person goes, right? So it's very, very simple to do some testing. So you can use this in the right way, which is rapid iterative testing and evaluation, to iterate quickly and design quickly and retest immediately after you get some feedback that makes sense. People tell you something's unclear, or you want to change something, or you just want to try multiple different versions of something. It's very, very easy to do this in about 5 minutes. And you do this until you get to something that is good enough. And now you can say, well, all right, I got to good enough. So what should I do next? Should I go to Figma? Well, wait a minute. How much UI here is really? And does any of this UI really matter to the user? Well, let's take a look, for example. So maybe there's a better thing you can do than Figma. Here's Claude, which is one of the major LLMs, and you can simply say, well, let's get a pizza response in here. So I just dragged the sketchy wireframe of my pizza response. And I'm going to just tell it in a very simple way. I'm going to say, write the UI in HTML that matches this wireframe. Again, nothing fancy, nothing like that. You can also say, make it look like Amazon. Make it look like Facebook. How about that? Okay. Doesn't even have to spell it, but it helps. Make it look like Facebook, just for fun. Let's see what it comes up with. I saw a pizza emoji up there, so that looks very promising. Look at that. There's a coffin. Oh, there you go. So it not only did it do this, it actually it gave the exact example that we were looking at, and it made it actually look like Facebook. How amazing is that? And you can see this is straight up Claude. This is nothing fancy. There are specialized tools that will make this even more impressive if you wanted to. The point is that maybe the way to think about Figma is the way that it truly is, which is the Titanic. And sure, you can go on designing your buttons and your fonts and debating what color it should be and so on, all the while thinking you're adding value. Whereas in fact you're standing up there on the stern of this sinking ship, like these unfortunate souls here. Or you can escape the Figma Titanic entirely and travel in comfort to the lands of enchantment on your very own magic carpet rag. So what the heck is a RAG? Well, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, of course. If you've been reading my UX for AI blog, and it's a system that takes a user's input and it pulls in relevant documentation from your knowledge base and combines them together and feeds them together to an LLM to generate a personalized bespoke response that is customized for your application and your customer. And of course, just for fun, this diagram naturally too was designed and generated by Claude. So if we look at our Snowball manifesto, there's a reason why. Number one is start with data. It means getting intimately familiar with the kind of data your system has access to and what kind of data is really belongs only to your company. Now, before you make a single pixel or a single line of code, you need to get your data strategy right because LLMs already ingested 98% of the world's data. And your only competitive moat is that unique proprietary data from your customers and your enterprise. So you need to begin every single project you're rolling, begin every snowball you roll by identifying and curating the data that will fuel your AI work. And the way you do that is, again, by doing a low fidelity exercise. For example, here's a 10-minute lo-fi digital twin exercise, again from our UX for AI book, that you can do with your team. It's a little like creating an AI persona diagram for your system. You diagram the inputs on the left, and in the middle, you have a picture of what AI will be doing and what is being created as an output. And then you have the output on the right. And now you can help your team answer these important questions. What data sources will AI need? How easily is it available within your organization? Is the data normalized? Is it expensive? What shape the data is in? Maybe it's really dirty and you need to clean it up first, etc. And you have this very simple diagram, and it really represents a 10-minute conversation with your team that allows you to expose these assumptions visually and have an honest discussion about it. The key principle here is code talks, bullshit walks, because what matters is the AI solution. All this talking, planning, theorizing, it's a distraction if it never translates to a real product. The whole point is that these are very lightweight artifacts. These are very in-depth discussions, but lightweight artifacts. And then they all lead to unblocking the team so that they can build, test, learn, repeat, so that you ship something that works. So the first iteration of something that works is as simple as having a rag file and your LLM. Let me show you what it looks like in practice. Very simple prompt. I'm not going to retype it. You have two responses attached. One is a healthy fish and asparagus dish. By the way, let's go ahead and attach these. I have these two. So this is the asparagus dish that I'm going to attach. And this is the pizza. You're building a life copilot app which helps users make better life choices. You have two responses attached. One is a healthy fish and asparagus dish, which results in a lavish praise for the user. The other example is an unhealthy slice of pepperoni pizza, which results in admonishment. Note the responses for each include a D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, style attribute assignment, and also the overall life clock, which is the time the user will be adding or subtracting from their life, depending on their food choices. Create a RAG registry file that has in it these two responses as examples. And one thing we want to say is we want to say text only RAG files. So we can also add important this RAG registry must be in text. Okay. So this helps because not for any kind of technical reason, but because it's just much easier for us to read it. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens here. There it is. Okay, so it's got a few things. It's got this one example here, and this is another example of a pepperoni pizza. Look, it actually read my chicken scratches in the wireframe. Check this out. So then it got a couple of different lifestyle modifiers, tone guidelines, etc. So this actually looks really good. It's got tone guidelines, it's got everything that we need to make this. So let's go ahead and save it. And this looks like a markdown file. Here's the actual file. You can see that in the markup, it actually used the universal markup symbols here to delineate sections, etc. But overall, looks pretty readable, looks pretty straightforward. It's got some guidelines in here, etc. So let's see how this actually works. We're going to open a brand new conversation, and we are going to add this RAG registry into here that we just made. And as we said in our little diagram, we are going to add a picture. Let's go ahead and start with the fish and asparagus. So we have a picture of a fish and asparagus that the user might be able to snap of their food, right? And we have the RAG registry. Let's see what it does. Oh my gosh, look at that. So this is interesting because it did give us the content that we were looking for. It even gave us a couple of buttons here, which then we could use some vibe coding later on to try to make these into regular buttons. But it also gave us a bunch of tender and vibrant and so on. This is completely unnecessary. It didn't need to describe. It didn't need to describe the choice of the picture. It could be perfectly disgusting, but it's still really healthy. So what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna modify this. I'm gonna tell it, I don't care about the picture. Only give me the output that the app would give for this kind of picture based on the registry. No explanation, no intro, nothing else. And we can even say important. All right, let's see what this does. Look at that. It only gave us the output that we want. So this is the value in actually doing this, and you can do this live with the customers. You can say, "Hey, would you care about the kind of picture it is? Do you want us to comment on the fact that this is perfectly prepared and it's gonna fuel the support the physical performance and long-term health?" So one of the things about Claude LLM is that it's very, very chatty. So, sometimes we want it to be chatty, sometimes not, because of course chattiness is going to lead to more hallucinations. So if we want it, great, we can keep it. If not, we can, with a simple prompt directly during testing, you can adjust it. You can say, I want more prompt, I want less prompt, I want this explanation or that explanation. Let's see how it works for the pizza. That's going to be the real test. Okay, I'm going to just dump the pizza in here and see what it does with my rag. So the rag was previously attached, so it should actually understand that I wanted to use the rag as well. Yeah, and sure enough, it did that. Pepperoni pizza for lunch. May not be best idea. I don't know why it's using all caps like somebody we all know. Right. So, we can say, I don't want all caps. I don't want all caps. You are not him. Let's see what this does. Oh, look at that. So, like I said, immediately uh, adjust it. So you can easily add all this stuff to the registry so the next person gets now lowercase stuff. You want more emojis, fewer emojis. You want other rubrics in here. You want other commentary, different suggestions for lunch. It will do all that stuff for you. To go back to our deck, at this point, we might recall that you get clarity for iteration, and you saw some of that iteration just now. It means you get to roll your very first snowball in all of these different directions, and you pick up all of these different insights and code and data as you go along. But you actually have a working system at this point that you can go directly to the customer with. So, what you might want to do next is do a bit of vibe coding. And for that, you may want to pick up our Snowball Vibe Coding Guide. And to do that, I recommend that you scan this QR code. In this Vibe Coding Guide, we show you how to do a simple loop, which is to plan, code, test, and judge. We walk you through all of these steps and you learn how to add some basic UI to your system and maybe eventually add an MCP server to get the agent to discover the foods that it didn't know or didn't have in its own database. Maybe save users information uh, to be able to see what the user already had, so that it's a little more dynamic. Right now, it assumed that you had a donut for lunch because you're having pepperoni for sorry donut for breakfast because you're having pepperoni for lunch, etc. So I would recommend just scan this QR code. We'll send you your vibe coding guide absolutely free. But very importantly, what I want to emphasize um, that as a UXer, your job is to remind your team that above all, it's a customer in the center, and they should be forever in your thoughts. This process is not about turning you into a an engineer. This is about giving you a seat at the table with a running AI-driven prototype that allows your customers to evaluate the beating heart of your growing AI system, not the gargoyles, not the spouts, but go straight to the heart. And also to make changes really, really fast as you plan and develop your system, because it's exactly like rolling that snowball. And most importantly, it's to have fun. This allows you access now to that seat at the table, but it's like flexing your very own magic superpowers. Here's that QR code again. Go ahead and scan it, get your vibe coding guide, and as a bonus, a guide even includes a special code to get your new UX for AI book. This book is a #1 new release on Amazon, and now you can get it at 21% off, but only for a limited time. Scan the QR code, get your guide. You'll be on your way off the Figma Titanic and into the magical land of designing agentic UX for AI. Thank you so much. I will take questions now.